So I think when you see it, you know it. It's one of those things you're like, man, we got 3 horses. We got a bullpen that's good. They got to clean up the bullpen. Like you said, there's various things that got to get cleaned up. So why sell off your assets if you're not even there yet?
Peter, what's up, brother? Excited to have you on here. The Sheffield Shuffler. I know the story, but I want people to hear it. So tell people where that came from and why you're such a big Cubs fan.
Yeah, so my name's Peter, born and raised in Chicago, right outside in the suburbs. I finished college, moved to the city, right? That's what a lot of people do. I lived on the corner of Sheffield and Addison for about 4 or 5 years. This is
Lucky
like
man.
2012 through
Yep.
2015, something like that. So, coming out of college, you're going crazy, and Wrigleyville's a fun spot. So I would be, coming home late at night, walking down the street, kind of struggling after partying all night. And my buddies would go, there he is, shuffling home, the Sheffield Shuffler. And that's kind of a nickname. And I really like that nickname. Like I like that. And I wanted to create like my brand around that later down the line. I was like, I want to make like a sports media company and kind of have like all this sports stuff in baseball. And that's kind of what it's grown into over the past like 4 years. And, we do stuff on Instagram. I make videos. I try to update the website with articles. So it's kind of like morphed into like, that was my vision, to have like the Sheffield Shuffler as this sports media brand.
Well, you do an awesome job, man. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the shows, because you have strong opinions. You're really good at delivering what those opinions are. And we've got a team right now that is struggling, and there's going to be some strong opinions, I'm sure, that we talk about. But really quickly, just so people know, where can they find you? Where can they follow your stuff?
Yeah, everything is at Sheffield Shuffler. On Twitter, it's Sheffield Shuff, because I ran out of characters. So YouTube, Instagram, we got our biggest following on Instagram. Twitter, I tweet out just random stuff. TikTok is kind of like, whatever. But you can find me, all of our stuff you can find there. Obviously, the website too.
Well, hey, we're at the 1/3 mark of the season. Believe it or not, 54 games, 1/3 of the way through the season exactly. This team is exactly 500, 27-27. On tough times right now, but, just looking at the overview of everything right now, how do you evaluate where this team is at, being at 500?
Yeah, it's pretty on par from where I thought it would be. If you take a look at last year, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season, hey, on game 162 or 163, you're fighting for the postseason, I would be surprised. I'd been like, that's awesome. Like they have a chance to go to the postseason, kind of like where we are right now. The most disappointing thing is just the starting pitching not getting the run support that they so desperately deserve. You look at Justin Steele, Imanaga, and I mean, obviously Imanaga's got a great record, but even it could be better because he doesn't get wins, the run support. Justin Steele yesterday, 7 shutout innings, man, and you don't give him any run support. I mean, these are your horses. These are your aces. Those are games you're supposed to win. So it is unfortunate. That is obviously, the downfall right now. They have a -7 run differential. You don't win games like that. You got to score more runs than the other team. So it's disappointing from an offensive perspective. Defense looks a little bit sloppy too. But if we're going to pick out anything, Shota Imanaga has been the best signing in of this offseason. Glad we got him, and forget Yamamoto, but Shota Imanaga, I just bought his jersey, went to DH Gate, had to pick up an Imanaga jersey, a nice road gray. But yeah, they're sitting at 500 right now. This is kind of where I would have expected them to. And even so, like what we're talking about, all these negativity things, they're still sitting in second place right now.
Yeah, the part of your brain that thinks critically and thinks about like, okay, let's just take a step back and look back. You kind of are like, okay, it's not bad. But then like the emotional side, the Cubs, bleeding Cubs blue side of us is like, this team is so tough to watch right now. For the last month, the offense has been crap. And I want to go back to Shota Imanaga in a second. But, to me, yesterday, when we looked at this, when we circled this game on the calendar of Craig Counsell returning to Milwaukee, and we were like, hey, this is the team that we are supposed to be defending a title from. And now you look at it, and instead of being like, hey, Craig Counsell going back to Milwaukee, let's get a win from his former team, it was The storyline was, is this team going to score enough runs? And that was kind of an afterthought. And it was kind of disappointing. And of course, the Milwaukee Brewers fans got the best of Craig Counsell before, during, and after the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you would expect that to happen, right? You're not gonna, the way everything went on, the sudden him suddenly leaving, right? The replacement suddenly of David Ross. As Cubs fans, we're kind of like, what happened? Like we didn't know like this was available or an option. It kind of just happened out of nowhere. So he's gonna go back there, and that was gonna happen. But I thought the depressing thing was kind of like the fans' reaction after that. And I know we were talking about that. It was kind of sad when you take the Cubs, their moniker or their, the sense of identity with the W, fly the W, and then you can make it your own, fly the L. It reminds me of a lot of Sox fans. White Sox fans like hate the Cubs more than they like the Sox. I think that's such a weird thing. When you hate something more than you like your own team, it's like, we get it, dude. You're from the South Side. You don't like the Cubs, right? There's just so much like hatred and vitriol for it. I think the Brewers kind of have that same thing. We call it Wrigley North. They feel like a little brother, kind of getting beat up on all the time. It's a smaller market, not as nice of an area, but I digress.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that, and part of me just kind of hoped, Peter, that like it would get back to some of the players and light a little something under them, because to me, I look at this team right now and it just feels like they're lifeless on the field right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was looking at, a lot of stats here. I mean, Christopher Morel, right? They accept his defensive liability at third base. It's like, well, we need to have him in the lineup because we need his bat, and his bat has been nowhere, right? He's hitting under 200. He's not even hitting his weight. 374 slug. Seiya Suzuki, 250. The only positive thing I see, he's got like top 6% in baseball with hard hit percentage, which is promising as we move here into the dog days of summer. Ball should be flying out of Wrigley. And then I was looking at whiff percentage, just missing the ball. Michael Busch, 33.9% whiff rate. Dansby Swanson, 32.2. Yan Gomes, 34. That's a lot of swing and miss in the lineup. If you don't put the bat on the ball, nothing good is going to happen. So it's it's been bad from a lot of these guys that you're expecting to, Morel's the spark plug, right? I mean, he's the spark plug in your lineup, and have that spark plug, nothing is gonna go.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of like leads to the next question. There's so many things wrong with this lineup right now. It's not just, and I posted a video yesterday, and why is Nick Madrigal still in this lineup? Yes, that's one question. That's one issue. But then Christopher Morel is not hitting. Mike Tauchman is really the only shining spot in this lineup. And when you look at that and say Mike Tauchman is the best hitter, that shows you got a problem.
Yeah.
I think you can talk until you're blue in the face about changing up this lineup, but when you're 22nd in OPS, when you're 26th in average, when you're 21st in home runs, and you're only scoring 3 1/3 runs per game in May, what in the world do you look at, Peter, to change this lineup to be able to fix this thing?
Oh, one option is looking at the Cubs prospects, right? Because we know there's a farm full of guys there. Cade Orton, right-handed pitcher that could come, help out. Owen Casey, an outfielder. Matt Shaw, Kevin Alcantara. Now, we understand how this works, right? With options, and you don't want to bring them up too early and, kill their confidence. And then we only have a couple, options to send them back, and your offense isn't producing right now. What other option sounds good other than bringing up some of these young guys who have been successful in the minors? I mean, what other options there, right?
I think that is the one and the only option. And I think about it from a perspective of when Jed took over, his goal was to get rid of all of the dead weight, bring in new talent, and now all that new talent is coming to fruition. And where are they? What are they doing? They're sitting on the bench. They're going back to AAA. Luis Vasquez has been up for a week and has got one at bat. PCA came up and was a .8 WAR player, and then gets sent back down and is now lighting AAA on fire. And now the Cubs are missing speed. They're missing defense. They're missing a spark plug when he was that guy. I think the writing is on the wall that this team is 27-27 through a third of the season. And we can maybe for pun intended, maybe we can shuffle our way to like an 88 win season and barely get into playoffs. But I'd rather see this team win 80 games this year and get complete clarity on where their minor league system is at by playing the guys, so that you can look at it as like, hey, this is like our 2015 season going into 2016. At least we know what guys are going to be a part of that 2025 season that is potentially World Series bound or beyond. That's where I'm at. I just think that we're babying the prospects a little bit too much.
Yeah. Like I don't any other option outside of that. Are they going to contend? I mean, everybody wants to go to the postseason, right? Of course, it's more money for the team and TV rights and all that kind of stuff. Almost half of the league makes the postseason, right? 12 teams, so pretty close to half. But the important thing is getting clarity on who's going to be here and who's not going to be here, right? Or contracts coming up and who's going to, like, if you look at this lineup, there's a lot of guys that can get cut. We really don't need. So why don't you go to the minors, bring some of these guys up and that have already been up here? PCA has been successful, like you said. I really don't see another option. And I read The Cub Way by Tom Verducci. Have you read that book?
I have not.
It's a very good one. I suggest you pick it up. The Cub Way, or The Cub's Way by Tom Verducci. And Theo Epstein was there. He talked about the 4 pillars, right? These pillars are how you build around the team. And it makes so much sense. And you have to have these 4 guys. One of the pillars was Rizzo, Lester, Baez, and Bryant. Those, I think, were the 4 pillars that they built around. And then you kind of filter in the rest of the guys. And it's like, you have to think about these mindsets, these successful, presidents of baseball operations, these guys that know how to build a team and craft a team. Look at their footsteps because they leave footsteps on how this should be done. One, it was this homegrown talent from the farm system. These weren't acquisitions, really. There's a lot of this homegrown talent that gets brought up, and then that's what's on the field. Like, that's what you want to do. You want to take your homegrown talent, your farm system, bring them up, and have them be successful on the field. That was the blueprint, and that's kind of, you can obviously add, a John Lackey or something like that, but that was kind of like the formula, and I would like to see some of that. I want to see who's going to be successful, who's not, and this is kind of your opportunity to do that, right? Is there any kind of semblance of being put together like that? You know what I mean? Or is it just a random dudes ever?
Well, I guess that's the question for you. I'm thinking about the players on this team. Do you think it is the right pieces, or do you think it's just kind of random dudes right now?
I think there's plenty of good pieces, right? It's a young, right? So I think it's hard for leadership to be born if there aren't any like natural born leaders, because you got all these young guys, right? Even Justin's young, Morel. I mean, look at who's on the team. There are a bunch of young guys. So you don't really have like that veteran presence, like, that some of these other teams do have. So I think there needs to be kind of like a clubhouse thing. I mean, Jan Gomes is one of the oldest guys, but I mean, I don't see him being like a vocal leader. But I think needs to be like, hey, guys, like someone needs to take charge, take the reins, and be like, guys, we got to get this going. Every other, these Cubs, there was a leader. There's someone who's vocal, Dexter Fowler, you go, we go. Rizzo is he was the cat of that team. So I don't really see it yet. And I don't know who it would be. We obviously can pick out the spark plug with Morel. Cody Bellinger, not very vocal. It would seem, Seiya Suzuki, there's a language barrier. So maybe that needs to be, a discussion that needs to be had. Like, who's the leader on this team, right? I mean, you got the Mississippi fastball with Justin Steele, but he plays every 5 days. So it might be something they need to discuss.
I think the guy that comes to mind for me is Dansby Swanson. And when he came in, he signed the 7-year contract. You looked at it from a perspective of like, okay, he's going to be a great defender for a long time. His bat it's whatever you kind of get with the defense. But as soon as he started talking to the media, talking to the press, talking to, you see a lot of guys that are rookies that get a little present from Dansby Swanson, a little, personalized wine glass, things like that. I think of Dansby, but I don't know what the players think, right? Like, as soon as Cody Bellinger went into the offseason this last year, everyone was talking about bring Cody back, but Cody's on a 1, maybe 2-year contract, depending on how he performs this year. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not really a piece for the long term that you look at and say, that's our leader. That's our Anthony Rizzo for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So I do agree with you there. I also think that when it comes to an ace, yeah, like Shota has been showing up in big ways, but Peter, what do you think, man? Like, can we expect Shota to be putting up a sub-1 ERA for his entire career?
Oh no, of course not, right? And you'll see that with a lot of things. I mean, here in Philly, the Phillies are playing great, and they lose a series to the Giants, and then you hear all these people, "Oh my God!" And it's like, come on, man, not watch baseball. Like the regression to the median is going to happen. They're not gonna win 30 games. It's just not gonna happen.
No.
So the bottom's not going to fall out, right? We saw it with Javier Assad 1 or 2 starts ago, where he got a little bit. He was top 3 ERA in baseball and kind of dropped after that. So there are going to be starts where he does get hit a little bit, right? There's also no recency bias on him or any tape on him. I mean, you can go back to Japan, but unless you're in the box there against him, and there's not a lot of tape on him how he's attacking hitters. It's only May. It's at the end of May, so there's not too much on him. I'm sure there's going to be days where he does get lit up, right? So we can't expect that to continue. It's going to reach the median, but he's been awesome, and we can expect that. I think we can, just like Justin Steele, having those 2 guys, 1-2, and then Assad, who's overperformed. He's been awesome, man. You can't have -7 run differential and expect to win a game. Maybe, I don't know, these pitchers going to get a little pissed off or what? Be like, hey guys, I threw 7 innings today. You guys can't get me a run. I mean, maybe something like that's got to happen.
Yeah, you never know what these conversations are like in the clubhouse, but I gotta imagine, especially if you continue to go out there again and again and again, and you don't get the run support, you're going to get frustrated. What were your thoughts on Craig Counsell skipping Shota after the rain out in St. Louis, especially going into a very crucial 10-game span here that included St. Louis and Milwaukee?
Yeah. So I did what was it? I think I did I looked at a bunch of these quotes from so it was at the end of April, and he was talking about being proactive because people, these reporters saying like, how do you see behind corners? All the injuries that happened in April, right? All those injuries, everyone went to the IL, and they still won a history winning. No team in Cubs had 18 wins going into May, right? It was the first time ever. So they have all these wins in April, despite having all these on the IL. So they were asking Craig Counsell, is this, how do you see behind corners and being so proactive? He said is looking 10 days in advance, right? And you can kind of see whether it's injury prone or players who are hot, whatever it is, he kind of is looking 10 days ahead so he can make these decisions. So when it comes to him skipping a start, kind of looking ahead, preserving arm, what it is, I trust Craig Counsell right now, just the way that he's handled the injury bug at the beginning of the season with a new team. I was very impressed, with how they were playing. So when it comes to skipping that start, completely trust them, and it's totally fine, right? That's how I saw it.
Okay, so sounds like
I was
you're putting a
upset.
lot of
I missed it. Anytime show to shove day comes up, I'm like, I tell my wife, I'm like, baby, it's show to shove day. And she's like, oh, okay. But yeah.
Well, and just like you said, there are things that the manager can see, especially a smart guy like Craig Counsell, that the media doesn't see, that us as fans don't see. You never know. One thing that I'm just always asking for as a fan, and you never know if there's ever going to be a day like this, but I just want more transparency from managers of controversial decisions, right? Like, that is a controversial decision. Hey, we've lost 3 games in a row. Actually, at that point, they had lost 2 games in a row, and they decided to skip Shota. Hey, what goes on behind that decision? Okay, you want to skip him because you want to give him extra rest, but why does he need extra rest? Can we just dive in a little bit more to that? That's the things that I want to hear from managers, and I really want the media to kind of push those questions. I want someone in that press conference, in that room, being like, yeah, but why? Another question I have for Craig Counsell is just what what is the reason for using Kyle Hendricks in high leverage situations? What is the reason that Nick Madrigal keeps on getting starts over some of these guys? I mean, literally yesterday, Nick Madrigal's error should not have been the deciding play of the game. Let's be honest. At that point, the Cubs should have had runs on the board, but it ends up being the deciding play of the game. He's supposed to be a defensive replacement, and he's stealing at bats. Essentially, it's not his fault. It's Counsell's the one putting him in the lineup. But he's taking away at bats from the best hitter on the team. Mike Tauchman didn't get in at bat yesterday, didn't start. And Michael Busch, who at least has the home run threat. And I just look at some of these decisions and I'm just like, if this team is serious about winning, why is Nick Madrigal still part of the conversation? And unfortunately, Kyle Hendricks, why is he part of the conversation too? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. How about you?
Yeah, Kyle Hendricks, love the guy. Pitched a decade with the Cubs. It's only been with the Cubs. It's been nothing but great when he's been with the Cubs. World Series champion, everything you would want, maxed out his potential, right? For a guy that throws, 86? I mean, the guy, he's a pure pitcher, right? Changes eye levels, changes speeds. He's very much, that's like why they call him professor. He's not blowing fastballs by you. But I just think after a decade in the majors, you can only survive with an 87-mile-an-hour fastball for so long, right? These hitters are seeing 103 from Mason Miller, or seeing 101. As good as you can. It's the age of velocity. That's the age of baseball we're in. Everything is velocity, right? It's not location. It's not off speed. It's velocity. That's what everybody wants. That's what managers want. That's what teams want. Velocity. So, love Kyle Hendricks. I just think, father time, and the arm is kind of just done at this. But there's a lot of tape on you. You know how you're going to attack pitchers. You got a good changeup. Hitters can sit on that changeup and just launch balls into the outfield. So that's kind of how I felt. I think his time is just kind of ran out. It's been a 10-year career, man. I mean, I don't think it's like disparaging talk about it. I mean, we've seen his stuff. We know what his stuff is, and it's been great for a decade and at the highest level in baseball. That's commendable. That's awesome. It's just time to, I think, move on now. You're no longer helping the team. You're hurting it more than you're helping it.
So the question is it a trade? Is it DFA? Is it, putting on the Phantom IL and walking that tightrope? What do you think the team has to do?
Do you think there is a team who would want Kyle Hendricks? Because I don't think so.
And that's where I think Peter is like the brain of Kyle Hendricks. Yes. I think any team, especially with young pitchers, you showed him and Aga talked about it in spring training, right? He said watching Kyle Hendricks throw a bullpen was like, mwah, like it was cool to watch. He said it's very methodical. Hayden Wisniewski has said this before too. The impact it has on young pitchers, I think, is extremely valuable, which is why I've been like, okay, at least he's a mentor to some of these guys. At least he's a role model. But now these guys have seen it, right? Like I think his model for the Cubs has, maybe a coach in the future, but right now the physical is so bad that doesn't provide any value. But does that provide value to, I don't know, like the Oakland A's or the Colorado Rockies? That's for them to decide. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Like you said, could be a great pitching coach. I mean, he's got so much knowledge. You have to be smart to be able to have survived just good enough to play a decade in Major League Baseball, period, let alone not having the physical attributes to be like a modern day pitcher. I mean, he's very, like you said, very methodical, very good pitch selection, changing eye levels, the thought process behind pitching. So I'm sure a wealth of knowledge that he has. But yeah, the physical is pretty much gone. I don't think there's really much value as a player to another team. I think they could go about it the right way as opposed to DFAing him or something like that. Because he's so much for the organization, they could probably do it the right way. Kyle, hey man, listen, we're going to get rid of you. Yeah. How do you want this to go down? How should this happen? So it could be kind of like a graceful send-off, but that's kind of how I see it happening. I don't see any value for anybody really wanting him at this point.
What does this team need to do really for the next, call it 50 to 60 games to be considered buyers at the trade deadline at the end of July? And do you want to be a buyer? Because there's also some threat, some things that come with that of maybe losing some top talent that the Cubs have been fostering now.
Yeah. So do you think I think I've seen enough already to make a determination. We're a third of the way through the season. I think we know what we have and we know what we don't have, right?
Mhm.
So I don't think there's anything outside of acquiring 4 to 5 players from somewhere else that's going to change things. I think we know who we are. They're sitting at 500. It's a pretty good indication of, I'm guessing, where they'll finish, or could be a little bit better depending injuries, other teams. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but playing out 162, I think we're hovering right around 500, a little over 500. Nothing crazy. Like I said, outside of acquiring a bunch of players, are going to make them be buyers. And I think that's okay, because if you look at, like I said, the prospect list, Casey, I'd like he does, Casey, Matt Shaw, there's pieces there. They're all 21, 22 years old. I don't want to sell that for what? To get, I don't, Tyler O'Neill or, somebody. It's like, I'm not going to sell those pieces off because I don't think that window's open yet. I don't think the window of winning is open yet. And I think, as you know, we know it when we see it, right? When we saw that 2015 team, and we're just like, the window is open now. Like, we need to make a push for this. The next couple of years, we're going to be very competitive and make a run at. So I think when you see it, you know it. It's one of those things. You're like, man, we got 3 horses. We got a bullpen that's good. They got to clean up the bullpen. Like you said, there's various things that got to get cleaned up. So why sell off your assets if you're not even there yet? I think just enjoy the summer, enjoy the wins, fly the W when you can. Let's start developing prospects so you know what you got, you know what you don't got, and then you can kind of go into next season start piecing these holes together. Get someone else for the bullpen, your starters there, whatever it is. But it's important, like we saw with Matt Mervis, right? Everyone's excited for Matt Mervis. You bring him up, hey, that's not who we're going to put in our plans right now. You know what I mean? So like like we were talking about, bringing those players up. I think that's the course of action that should be taken. And I don't see a situation where they are buyers. Do you feel that way?
I think they could potentially be like last year, right? It was before June 8th. Team was 10 games under 500. This is an obvious seller by the deadline. And then suddenly they go on this run. And Jed said it, like, there was a string there of like 6 or 7 wins in a row where they pretty much forced our hands to have to be buyers. I crack up when I see comments like, I just want the Cubs to lose every game the rest of the year so that they have the #1 draft pick and that they're not buyers at the deadline. I'm like, do we really want to be the Pirates and like just setting ourselves back 10 years like that? No, like, I think last year that winning streak and getting to 83 wins was huge for this team to show that they are moving in a positive direction. But now it's like, hey, do we want to just still be stuck at 83 wins for the next 2 to 3 years? If we do, okay, go ahead and buy at the deadline and get some average players and give up some above average talent down in the minors. And then suddenly you're looking up and you've given away guys that are now making the majors in 27 and 28. And you're thinking to yourself, those could have been guys still on our team that are now contributing to a championship. And so for me, I think I'm kind of with you there. It's like, if they're going to be buyers, which I think they could potentially be, just don't give up the farm. Don't give up the big things, because the window for winning does not feel like it's open right now.
Right. We've, the reason we love baseball is because an 83 win Arizona Diamondbacks team can go to the World Series, right? Anything can happen in October. It's a brand new season. So yes, if you can make the postseason, that's great. You can go on a run, but just everything that we've seen right now, it's obviously still early. It's not even summer. I think we're going to see some progression from players and stuff like that. And you can kind of make a determination at that point. But yeah, man, I mean, there's teams that win 83 games and go to the World Series. So there's always hope. That's why it's fun being a fan.
Peter, man, this has been a really fun conversation. Guys, go check out Peter at the Sheffield Shuffler on Instagram, at Sheffield Shuffler. The Chef's Kiss is the name of the podcast. You can go check that out. But everything Phillies and Cubs is what Peter is talking about on his show and on his content. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate you jumping on here.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it.